Well, today you're in for a treat, everyone, on the Drew Allen Show. If you've been around for a few years since I've been doing it, I can count on one hand the number of times I've had a guest on this show, and typically that guest has to be pretty special or smarter than me or something, to come on here. And today I'm doing that. Stephen Gardner, he's already on the screen. Look at his smiling face. So David Hogg, who of course is the most masculine man in America. I don't know if you've seen this, but Mr. Masculine David Hogg, he has appointed himself the leader of the Democrat quest to rediscover masculinity for the Democrat Party. Stephen, did you see that? Did you see the Bill Maher interview or a clip of that?
I saw a clip of it. Yes.
So for anyone who doesn't know this already, I'll just fill him in, Stephen, and get your take on this. So he goes on with Bill Maher. And of course, remember, David Hogg doesn't have really any experience doing anything. Like his claim to fame is, standing on the graves of his dead classmates and making himself the spokesperson for anti-gun violence and making himself the most famous person of that shooting. It's really disgusting. He had a failed pillow company, right? He thought he was clever and he was gonna rival Mike Lindell with My Pillow, and it went bankrupt in like 2 months. So this is who this guy is, but he's being propped up somehow by the Democrat Party, who wants new, fresh leadership. So he goes on Bill Maher, and it's true Democrats have a problem with men. They talk about black men in particular a lot of times. And he said that young people, one of the problems is young people more generally should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which according to David Hogg is getting laid and how to go and have fun. What do you make of David Hogg's assessment of the problem and his definition of masculinity and the problem of the Democrat Party with that statement?
Well, my teen son, they talk about these beta men, these simps that have given up their masculinity. The ones that do want to be with a girl, they're just totally, pulled around by the nose by the girl that they like. But I think he's actually right. The Democrat Party has tried to feminize women through feminism to the point where they've lost the traits of masculinity. And he's right. A lot of men, they're out trying to find women, sleep with women, find a mate, go through college. It's like Steve Harvey, the comedian. He's like, sleeping with women's the reason I went to college, right? It's the reason I bathe. But so these boys, they don't want to get married. They don't want to serve in the military. They don't want to have families. They don't want to have masculine traits. I mean, during COVID, there was literally articles about one of the things that we should be careful of is these young men working out are more likely to become conservative voters. So like there's been this attack on masculinity, especially on white masculinity, as the worst thing. I mean, look at Joe Biden. Remember his speech? He's got the red pillars of light behind him. He looks like he's in like Germany warming up the crowd for Hitler, this red light, and he's screaming about how awful white people are and that white supremacy is the greatest threat to the American experiment ever. And it's not. Like, white men do a lot of good. Black men do a lot of good. Men do a lot of good. Yeah. Are there traits that masculine people have that maybe we got to work on? Of course. But overall, I just think the Democrat Party doesn't know where to go. The fact that David Hogg is the one, like, okay, so I'll give you an example. So we swapped out Ronna McDaniel, the niece of Mitt Romney, when she wouldn't back President Trump on the 2020 election claims, when she wasn't putting up money to get MAGA candidates elected. We replaced her with who? Laura Trump. Somebody great, somebody strong, somebody bold, somebody with brains. What did the Democrat Party do? They went and got a beta male who doesn't believe in working out, that doesn't believe in family, who wants you to have abortions, who wants you dependent on the government, who wants these simpy, wimpy baby men to be part of the Democrat Party. No, this dude's not going to last. They're going to take him out. And the reason they're going to take him out isn't because he's a beta male. They're going to take him out because he's trying to replace Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and others, and they're not going to stand for it. They're not going to give up their power to some young guy in his 20s who doesn't know anything about politics.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis. I think it's funny, to add on to what you're saying. So David Hogg is onto something in the sense that, especially, young people want to be able to focus on, having fun. And I think that's true. I said many years ago, Stephen, even as I was getting into politics and kind of my late 20s, getting interested, now I'm 38, I've got 2 daughters, I'm married. My life is very different now. But even today, sometimes I say, I kind of resent the fact that our politics is in such shambles and that our leadership is such a disaster and so anti-American. We can't rely on them. We can't trust them. They don't have the best interest of America or your family or my family at heart. I should be able to go out and enjoy a round of golf, and I'm not saying people can't go out and play golf and live in this country, but I'm saying, like this last election, for example, was all hands on deck. I mean, it was, and we pulled it off, and it was a testament to Americans' perseverance and will, I think. But, it was a very dangerous time in American history, and it hasn't gone away. But I mean, young people, the Democrat Party doesn't teach young people to go out and have fun and get laid. They want their young people to be young revolutionaries. They want them out there getting paid by George Soros to light Teslas on fire and protest, right? I mean, this is the riled up world of the left. So I just see this a lot in the Democrat Party. It's funny because I don't want to say it's instinct, because I don't think they have good instincts. But when they're pragmatic and when they sometimes are willing to look at a problem because it's so bad, whether it's Gavin Newsom in California and looking at the results of the last election, or David Hogg now, it's funny because they actually arrive at really like conservative positions. So Gavin Newsom is now saying, California has a debt problem. We have a deficit where I live. And we know it's a dumpster fire. But Gavin Newsom, of course, part of the problem is he's given illegals in this state. By the way, California has the most illegals in the country. He's given illegals health care, and we can't afford it. Obviously, we've been saying that. We know that. That's not rocket science.
Just $9 billion worth.
Yeah, it's just a small $9 billion. That's nothing, Stephen. Nothing. But yeah, but now he's come out and he said, I think that we don't have the money. I think that we need to pull back on funding some of the healthcare for illegals. I mean, these are the pragmatic solutions we've put out forever, right? And so when they're desperate in this moment, it actually proves, in my opinion, that conservatism, or just pragmatism at this point, obviously is the right way.
Yeah. That reminds me of a joke from Ronald Reagan. He says, that this little boy is outside of the Democrat convention, and he's selling these kittens. Get these Democrat kittens. A couple of people buy them. 2-3 weeks later, he's at a Republican convention. Buy these Republican kittens. Buy these Republicans. And he says, why are these Republican kittens? And before they were Democrat. And he said, oh, they now have their eyes open.
Oh,
and so I think once people have their eyes open, maybe their income goes up, their connection to God goes up, they have a family, they get married. All of a sudden, these things, you're like, wait a minute, maybe I'm having more conservative values. Maybe the nuclear family is important. Maybe a government that doesn't tax me into poverty is important. Maybe a government that doesn't want my wife married to the government versus married to me is important. And I think people have their eyes open. And I think Donald Trump is the great eye opener. He has just said, hey, listen, here's 80% of the problems that Americans are angry about. I'm going to go try to solve those problems as a CEO, as an entrepreneur. And the Democrats are like, here's the things that 5 to 10% of people care about. We're going to throw all of our weight and money behind that. Transgenderism, LGBTQ in the classroom, weirdo books in the classroom, like on and on and on. Open borders, free medicine for everyone, free hotels for everyone. And at the end of the day, they're going to run out of other people's money. I mean, look at USAID. You pull back the curtain. The only way they've been surviving income-wise and as a party is from stealing American taxpayer money and then using it against us in the dark of night to destroy our country. No more. So I'm just so grateful for President Trump opening so many people's eyes. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it has. And while he's opened so many eyes, it's amazing to watch so many Democrats just determined to keep their eyes shut. They don't want to open their eyes. Jake Tapper, as you've probably seen, is out there trying to rewrite his own history and salvage some kind of credibility as a journalist, because he was one of the leaders in the movement propaganda campaign to cover up Joe Biden's mental decline. And now he's written a book, co-written a book with another fake journalist about, how he has uncovered, Joe Biden's mental decline and how the White House covered it up. It wasn't him. It was the White House. I want to play a clip of Jake Tapper. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'll just play enough to make the point of him in the past covering up Joe Biden's mental decline. This is Mr. I didn't have anything to do with this. Watch this.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
It's very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have I can't. This is so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally. Yeah. I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, "Shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster." Do you worry that you damaged him at all? I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors today, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercise in narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity.
I mean, do these people have no shame? What if you did that on you? I mean, I don't understand the Democrat mentality, Stephen. It truly is a cult. I mean, I have to believe that if you went on your show and lied like that every single day, you maybe wouldn't have 500,000 people watching every video you do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Jake Tapper is a liar. He is a gaslighter. I mean, even right there, right to Congressman Dean Phillips, one of the only Democrats that I like. And he's all like, shame on you. I've just heard so many disgusting things from your colleagues about you, what you say and do. The dude's a good guy. Biden had dementia. And guess what, Jake Tapper? You can roll the highlight clip of Stephen Gardner. I've been saying since the summer of 2020, Joe Biden has dementia. Look at how he can't remember basic things about his family, his time as vice president. Another sign of dementia is that they just love ice cream for some reason. I'm telling you, there was so many indicators that this dude was mentally gone. And then I'm almost certain after the first year when they're like, we don't know what to do with this guy other than put him in a wheelchair and put a blanket on him. I think they started giving him that $50,000 a year Alzheimer medication or something, because he did kind of perk up a little bit. But I think also it had to do with the fact that he wasn't starting work until noon. And then they called a lid at around 3 or 4 p.m. The guy was only working 3 or 4 hours a day, and he spent 40% of his presidency on vacation. All of that you could Google.
Yeah, that's all accurate. And now, of course, they want to attack Trump for playing golf or whatever it is. What Jake Tapper should have written a book about that would be fascinating, that maybe someone will write at some point, I don't know, is an answer to the questions you're having. What was the exact concoction? How were they pulling off, the occasional miracles? I mean, the bar was so low, they weren't really miracles, right? I mean, he would give the State of the Union address and scream. He confused Laken Riley, who was murdered by an illegal, with Lincoln Riley, the USC head football coach. It was a disaster, but the measure of success for Joe Biden was just, honestly, he didn't croak on stage.
Yeah. So people should go back and watch Biden's State of the Union and then the Trump debate. That dude was on something, like whether it was like 10 cups of coffee or he was injected with vitamin B mixed with methamphetamine or something. That dude was hopped up. I mean, for an hour, he was, ah. And then at the debate stage, the dude was a ghost. He looked like a cancer patient on chemo. It was sad. It was really kind of like, I felt bad laughing because it felt like elder abuse.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I haven't thought about the juxtaposition much. He was a different person on that debate stage than he had been in his rare public appearances in the past. Obviously, when we saw him late to the State of the Union or wherever he was speaking, yeah, he was like hyped up, and his default emotion was anger. He would scream through these things. It's like you're talking about the kind of ice cream you had today, and you're screaming about it being vanilla. It's like, wait, that doesn't even match up with the message. And I wonder, but you know, he that's when he's reading a speech, so it gives him stamina, I guess. But obviously, I guess that wouldn't work if you're in a debate environment because the effects of it. I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious. You know, did they decide not to shoot him up with something? I mean, what happened that night?
I don't know. I mean, he could have suffered a medical thing that they have just never disclosed, because he did have an emergency medical situation in Las Vegas. All of that was documented and proved, but we've never been told from his doctor what actually happened. But it wouldn't shock me if he had a stroke or something, because he was never the same after that. They blamed it on COVID, and maybe it was. You know, he got 4 or 5 of those miracle shots, and now we know they have an increase in strokes, heart issues, myocarditis, pericarditis. Wouldn't it be fitting if that was the thing that ruined his presidential career after forcing it on people through a mandate?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Okay, I want to ask you about this, just straight up. What's your assessment so far of the Trump presidency? And you can take all things into consideration. Seems like there's issues with the Senate and the House, like usual, the rhinos that are trying to obstruct him now. And the reason I want to ask you this question, because you're such a level-headed person that really does analyze things. And I like the way your brain works. It's very honest and has a lot of integrity. It's not emotional, because I know a lot of people, Stephen, and they are, you know, strong MAGA folks, and they're very critical of this administration because it's not moving fast enough, or it's not solving every problem right away. They're very frustrated with, you know, what they see as a lack of action on either the Epstein files, or they want more arrests of people, right? They want the COVID stuff dealt with. I mean, there's a million things. And I hear those people and I don't disagree with them, but I also come from now, you know, as a publicist working in this world, you know, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard's been a client, you know, Alan, all these people. So I have a little bit more insight into the political operations and what's going on behind the scenes. But what do you say to those people that are really frustrated right now, that are good intention, they're MAGA, they supported this president, but they're frustrated?
I would say patience is a virtue. And every time they've come against Trump on something, if you just let enough time go by, he's proven right. So everybody just needs to be patient. I have said many times on my show, most people that voted for Trump are happy with everything except one thing. They want more arrests, right? Like, and I believe that those are coming. The communication about we'll do this on day one, we'll release the files on day one. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Like, you don't know. Nobody knew how complex the Epstein thing was. Now they've got to dig through 10,000 videos of gross stuff with kids. Like, I don't want to see that. I just want to see somebody thrown in jail and maybe the butt of a rifle to his man parts. But other than that, I'm just being patient. Like, when the stock market took a 5 or 6% dip, I was like, okay, that happens like every year. It's just convenient that they got to blame it on tariffs on April 2nd. But guess what? Now it's back up. And in fact, if you had taken Jim Cramer's advice, many of the biggest companies out there, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, NVIDIA, they're all like up double digits. For heaven's sakes, Boeing is up almost 50%. And we just found out that over in Qatar, they ordered $200 billion worth of airplanes, the biggest order by far that Boeing has ever had. And the CEO, his response was, crap. We've got to hire and train a whole bunch of Americans. What a blessing. So I just think people need to be patient. He is doing a lot. He's done more than any president in 100 days, including Donald Trump term 1. He got more done in those 100 days. So the next 100 days, they're going to be fantastic. The next 100 days after that are going to be fantastic. So there's nothing that Trump has done that I am willing to bail on him. Now, when it comes to the Republicans in Congress, you've got the Trump derangement syndrome group, you've got the rhinos, and you've got the minos, right? The MAGA in name only. I know for a fact some of these losers are pretending to have Trump's back. They're raising money off of their donors based on Trump's accomplishments, not their own. Think about this, Drew. How much has President Trump gotten done in the last 110 days? Now you compare that to Congress. It's night and day. They've gotten nothing done, almost nothing done. It's crazy. So don't tell me that Trump hasn't done anything. Pick up the phone, call your member of Congress, and ask why they don't have Trump's back and why they aren't getting more done. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. I want to keep talking about this issue for a little bit. I think it's important. It's an evergreen issue in the Republican Party and politics in general, but we just get taken for one every single time, by these Republicans that lie to us. But I spoke to a women's Republican group here in the Napa Valley, a few days ago, I guess. I lose track of time with the kids. But anyway, spoke to a women's group, and I brought up the recent poll it was a series of polls, right? As we approached the 100 days, it was New York Times, CBS, ABC, New York Times, Washington Post, which what do they all have in common? They're propagandists for the left. And the headline that everyone saw was the worst poll, I think, was ABC. It said that Trump had 39% approval, and then he was the least popular president in 70, 80 years, which, of course, I debunked that right away and knew that it, didn't pass the litmus test. None of it's true. They oversample Democrats. It's a fraud. They're conducting those polls with the intention of making perception reality, right? And those polls are intended to also affect and actually help those rhinos and minos that you're talking about in Washington, D.C., because it gives them cover to oppose Trump's agenda. Because if it's so clear to the American people, right? I mean, he's got this mandate. I've never seen a president with more political capital than this one. Assassination attempts, the lawfare, quote unquote, losing 2020, right? And coming back and winning. I mean, it's like amazing. It's like you couldn't like make this up. I mean, it's just like a hero's journey, right? And he's in there, and we know, you see all the polling too, a majority of Americans do want the illegals deported, for example. So all these issues he's been elected to deal with. We won the popular vote as well, but the media is trying to, damage and weaken the support, right, of his base, and also to let those Republicans and minos, rhinos, whatever, say, hey, actually, we need to pause on this agenda. We don't need to pass this so fast because, look, he's not so popular. People don't like what he's doing. And I told them, Stephen, that winning the election in November was actually the easy part. The hard part now is having the stomach and the backbone to continue to support Trump and stand up to the media, because the more Donald Trump succeeds, the more the media is going to attack him. And they want to convince you, his supporters, to become like the weak shell of human beings that we were in the past, where you talk to those people right ahead of the 2020 election and they would apologize for Trump. Like, oh, I don't really want to vote for him, but I have to. They want this weak Trump supporter again. And to me, that's going to be the test. And it's our job to continue to show that support, to combat this perception they're trying to create and make sure that, these Republicans stay in line.
Well, if anybody that watches my show and your show, we're constantly putting out the truth. We're constantly saying how America is winning. And, the problem with statistics is you can bend them any way you want to get the result that you want, right? So oversampling Democrats, calling during the day, Like there's just so many little things that the main advantage that the Democrats still have is that they work in concert with the mainstream media. The mainstream media has money and influence like you and I don't have. I mean, it's pretty bad when my show, produced by me in my basement, is getting numbers that rivals ABC, MSNBC. Like, I don't have millions of dollars behind me, but I have truth on my side. I have well-researched information on my side. So, there are low-educated voters. There are low-propensity voters. Our job is just to continue to put out the truth. I made 1,500 videos to help Donald Trump get elected. So I'm not giving up. I just keep putting out good information. And but I think most voters still believe that he's doing a good job. They're just like, okay, there's 99 things I expect from him, and he's not moving fast enough on one or two of them. Okay, well, you can sit and focus on the negative, or you can look at the 97 things that he is doing right, that he's making America better with. So I don't know, like you said at the top of the show, like I'm optimistic. I'm also realistic. But I believe good things are ahead. And then I just work my butt off to make those good things happen. And so, anyway, I think people need to remain optimistic. And guess what? What if those arrests never come, but your life becomes more affordable? Your life becomes safer. Like your family member isn't killed and violated for taking a walk in the park by an illegal MS-13 gang member or something. Like there's a lot of benefits that we don't actually see that have improved because of everything that the Trump administration has done. I mean, I saw yesterday, I was telling my wife, I said, this is silly and a small story, but like there's a business owner that makes furniture in North Carolina. He said ever since the tariffs, they can't keep up with the demand for America-made furniture. And he's like, we're hiring like crazy. And then the factories that feed us wood, they're saying, we have to now hire like crazy. And the batten that goes inside the furniture, that factory down the street, they're saying, wow, we can't hire fast enough. So like a lot of good is happening. And then as they clear out the illegal immigrants, I believe housing will become more affordable. You won't have all of the fake government given dollars competing with your hard-earned dollar, with your Social Security dollar. Life is going to become better. I don't know. Maybe I'm blindly optimistic, but I don't think I am.
Well, look, no, I don't think so either. I think that things have to change, and that's what we elected Trump to do. I mean, what I love about Trump is he's actually not ideologically conservative like I am or you are. I mean, he is, but from a different pathway, right? He's a pragmatist. And obviously, I think that's been good because communication-wise and background-wise, he's been able to bring in a lot of people to the Republican Party that previously were not attracted to it. But we've been doing things wrong for a long time. I mean, the Department of Education, people want to scream. You can't shut down the Department of Education. I mean, the Department of Education, all it exists to do is benefit the Democrat Party. Most of these government entities and bureaucracies, most of them we don't need. And the ones that we do need can be scaled down drastically, of course. But, Department of Education, you can look at when it was created, at the end of Jimmy Carter's term, and what happened to literacy rates? What happened to education around the country? Did it get better or worse? It got worse. So we know these things aren't working. We know that the way we've been doing things in this country hasn't been working. And the cowardly way that we've been going about this with Republicans and Democrats alike is not to change anything, to throw money at it, to put a Band-Aid here. And Donald Trump is thinking outside the box. And 99% of the stuff that he's come up with and proposed or pursued, I do agree with. It's amazing. You don't have to agree with everything. I didn't agree. He put out the idea that, okay, let's cut taxes for anyone making under $250,000. I said, I don't like that idea. I mean, I like the idea of cutting taxes, but you should cut taxes for everyone, right? I don't like this progressive tax system where you punish people that have a certain amount of money. Trump's not a bad guy for proposing that, but the point is he's proposing things, he's talking about things, and not every single idea is going to be the perfect one, but we have to start talking that way to get there and acknowledge as a country that the old way is not working and there has to be new solutions found, or solutions period, and he's doing that. But I want to talk about the tariffs for a second, because this is a great example of so many things. It's really enlightening.
Can I share one thing before you move on? I just read this morning. Secretary of the Education, Linda McMahon, she did an interview. She said that according to the data that they just gathered, 70% of 8th graders in America cannot read on grade level. So have the students failed, or the education system? I believe it's the education system. So they're not just going to reabsorb that money. They're going to deploy it in different ways. And then on the tax topic, I would love for there to be either a flat tax, everybody pays 10%, that works for God, like, or 15 or whatever it is, everyone contributes based on a percentage or something. That way the very wealthy can't get away with no taxes, but the middle income isn't being taxed into poverty. Or maybe there's a tax where we get rid of CPAs and the IRS. And guess what? There's a higher tax on what you buy. But guess what? If the wealthy want to spend more money, they're going to pay more tax because they buy more. And if you don't, then why should you be taxed on your hard work versus the things that you buy? I just think it's time to think outside the box. And too many Republicans and too many Democrats, they're so busy thinking right inside the box that they just keep America stuck.
Yeah, and the only thing that's going to stand in the way of our future success, both as a country and during this, administration, this current term, is these Republicans. I mean, I've said for a long time that one of the biggest problems with Republicans, of course, in gaining support and maintaining it over the years is that we do offer these solutions, but then we never actually pass them. We don't execute the agenda. And so the American people never get to actually experience the benefits of what we promised them. And so they never get it. And so that gives the Democrats an opportunity to come in, of course, and engage in their usual, tired rhetoric and lies and propaganda. They can claim all day long that, the rich don't pay their fair share and, all this stuff, doom and gloom. And, we give them an opening because we don't allow them people to experience life as we know it can be. That's why Reagan was successful for a long time, but then it fades. And the other message to people out there who are a little bit frustrated, I think, is, we won this election. It was significant. I called it America's last stand. A lot of other people said that too, talked about the significance of it. But we're not going to solve all of America's problems in 4 years. And, I hope that people can really appreciate what we have right now in Trump, because you can sleep really well at night because that he's running things, but he's a political anomaly. I mean, we will not have another Trump. I mean, whoever's next, whether it's Vance or Rubio, whoever it's going to be, you're not going to have Trump again. And people need to make sure that they remain activated. We can't sit on our hands just because we have Trump right now, because if we don't capitalize now, I don't want things to go back to how they were 4 years ago or 8 years ago. Do you?
No, nope. I think the biggest threat to the Republican Party is the winos, the rhinos, and the minos, and the American people. We have to keep on them. Like, look at this, Ed Martin for U.S. District Attorney of Washington, D.C. It wasn't the Democrats that sunk it. It was a rhino, Tom Tillis. Like, that guy needs to be thrown out and replaced with someone that cares about America and holds things together. The Democrat Party, for their lack of good policy, one thing that they do right is they stick together. Even when it means pushing forward evil, they're all on the same page. So, Republicans, they have to come together. This is our chance to do good, but they sabotage things because of their emotions.
Yeah, and I know Ed Martin, and I used to go on he had a radio show before, and I used to go on all the time. And he's such a gentleman. I actually had no idea that he was such an animal, and I mean in the best possible way. I mean, this guy's like he's ready to go to war for the country, and I love that about him. And of course, Tom Tillis, a Republican. I mean, it's such a joke. But the people of North Carolina, that's your job, right? Like all of us have to look at our representatives, and when this stuff happens, you have to say, all right, that guy's gone, because most of these people. I hate to say this, but I don't know if it's a majority, but there are a lot of these people in Congress that are just sitting in the shadows, and they want to sabotage Trump's agenda. And the only thing preventing them from going full out sabotage like they did in the last term, 2017 on first term, is that they fear for their careers. That's the only thing that keeps these people in line in the Republican Party. And so that's why you have to keep the pressure on. That's why you have to make sure these people know they're going to be primaried. But I mean, for Tom Tillis to support Merrick Garland, no problem. For Joe Biden, right? And then he comes in and he can't support Ed Martin and tanks that nomination simply because what? Because he takes the Democrat left-wing deep state position that, J6 was an insurrection. And Ed Martin has come out and said people that walked in through open doors, that took selfies maybe shouldn't be in prison. I mean, that's controversial, but Tom Tillis can't stomach that answer. So it tells you who Tom Tillis is. And so that's our job, is keep an eye out. Write down these people's names. We have to remember these names because we have to get rid of them. You can't save the country with executive orders.
No, you can't. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, tell everybody, where they can find you, what the best place is, and then I'll fill in.
Search Stephen Gardner on YouTube and you will see this ugly mug, and I would be happy to have you.
Oh, that's awesome. I really do encourage. Stephen's an amazing guy. I'm thankful to have gotten to know you over the years. You do such great work, and I learn a lot. And I thank you for coming on here today.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. God bless you all. This is Jarrell, your Millennial Minister of Truth. That's Stephen Gardner, everyone. Find him, listen to him, the wisdom. And until next time.